Well, hello everyone. This is Steve Clark and welcome to another guest expert interview series. Today we are fortunate to have with us serial entrepreneur Jeff Martin. And let me tell you a little bit about Jeff before we get into our discussion and interview here today. Jeff is a graduate of the University of Miami. He has owned and built 5 alarm companies, 2 invisible fence companies. He is a past national sales trainer and past president of the Kiwanis Club and Sertoma Club. He's also the past director of the Alarm Association of Florida and past president of the Home Builders Association and past director of the Chamber of Commerce. So in his spare time, he has figured out how to build and grow businesses and sell those businesses successfully. And he's going to share with us some of his strategies on how he has been able to do that. So Jeff, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here today.
You're quite welcome, sir.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into the alarm business.
Well, that's an interesting subject. Probably the fortunate thing is I had a 1968 Maverick with a broken shifter that was breaking down all the time and I needed to get it fixed. I was working in Southwest Florida for the newspaper, selling newspaper ads. And I had decided after about 6 months of frustration that newspapers and newspaper advertising and the sales of it was not for me. People want an immediate response and you don't always get it unless you have coupons, and you better have a whole bunch of money if you're going to be using that type of media for your advertising. Well, I went on a job interview earlier in the day and it was for cookware, and I knew that was not something I wanted to do. So I realized I better sell something today to get some commission to get my car fixed. So I headed down to the commercial area of town, started going door to door, knocking on them, walking in, telling them about the newspaper, dropping off free papers, talking about the advertising. And I walked in the door of a fella in the alarm business. And this fella looked just like Telly Savalas, the bald head, big gold medallion, and Kojak was sitting there. And I asked for the owner and he said it was him. So I said, wow, I've got a warm body here in front of me. I need to sell this guy something, and he's a decision maker. So I went on about my product, about how well the newspaper was, how it could help his company, and he could sell more. And he listened to me very intently, and he was eating a sandwich. This was about lunchtime, and he's going on, yep, okay. Finally he said, newspaper ads don't work for me. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've tried every type of media. Newspaper ads don't work. And I said, well, ours is different. And I went on about how good it was. And finally he said, stop. I've heard enough. What do you do? How much do you make? So I told him how much I was making, and it was about $175 a week plus commission. He said, I'll give you $200 a week. I said, no, that's not enough. I don't know anything about the alarm business, about newspapers. He said, no, I'll teach you, and I'll give you the $200 a week plus commission. I said, well, that's still not enough. And he says, well, it comes with a company car. Well, how soon could I start? And with that, I've been in the business some 35 years since then.
So, okay, did the car have air conditioning?
Oh, yes.
Okay, in South Florida you have to have air conditioning.
It did, had air conditioning. Even had one of the old phones in the back that was about the size of 6 shoe boxes in the back of the car.
Oh, goodness. So, how did you, what did you do after you sold that business?
Well, I went to work for that fellow named Don Kovacs. I went to work for Don and worked with him for about 7 years. We took a company, when I started, it had less than 100 accounts. He had only been in business there 1 year. He had sold his previous company to Honeywell on the East Coast. So this was on the West Coast. I joined him, started working with him, and went to several different seminars. A couple of them were held by a fellow by the name of Ron Davis, Davis and Associates, and he was really a marketing guru to people in the alarm business. I listened to Ron Davis, I listened to his programs, and started acting on them in a matter of a short period of time. I mean, within 6 months to a year, we had almost doubled the size of the business, following a good marketing process and program. And in the early 80s, we decided it was time to sell the company. Don had other ventures he wanted to go on to, and I said, okay, I'm game for that too. So we sold the company, very large multiple, to Honeywell again, and with that I decided it was time to do something else.
Okay, so you got in the alarm business as a rookie, you helped build a business, you spent 7 years, I guess, just doing that. You grew it exponentially, decided to cash out. You were not typical retirement age.
Right.
But you essentially cashed out and had a pocket full of money.
Yes.
And
yes.
then what did you do?
Yeah, I was a young guy that thought I was very rich and decided, my wife and I took almost a year off, went to the mountains, built that summer cottage, and realized that that money's running out pretty darn quick. So I made a few phone calls, decided I need to get back to work, got to find something. And what do I know? The alarm business. So I ventured over to the East Coast again and joined up as a sales manager to a very large company in Vero Beach, where they were having marketing problems and sales management. I became a sales manager, hired approximately 5 salespeople, and took that company once again, doubled the size of their monthly sales. Guardian Alarm was the name of the company, to a point where when they came up after 6 months, it was time for me that I'm the entrepreneur, I need to move on. And
right.
so I decided, I found a company that was for sale and moved up the state to Daytona Beach and got into the alarm business again.
So now you went, that was your second company?
Yeah, well, yes and no.
Okay.
I got involved with the company I thought was for sale, and the negotiations didn't work. I started with the company, but they didn't work. So I moved on over and actually went to work for a national distributor of security equipment and traveled the state working with them. I received a call one day from Ron Davis and said, hey, are you interested in joining me as a national sales trainer, training, working with alarm companies throughout the country? I thought it would be very interesting to try that for a while, and I did, and it was fascinating. But there were so many similarities in the alarm companies. Small independent companies had good growth. Some of them came from the technical side where the individual, he could do the systems, he could install the best systems, but he really didn't understand marketing. So the company was called Security Associates, and it was similar to McDonald's. You had a franchise, and we would come in and work with you on a monthly basis, train salespeople, go over the marketing plan, put the marketing program in your hands of here's the process. The fellows that followed it are still successful today. The ones that didn't are still floundering.
Okay, so that was subsequent to your relationship with Davis.
Yes.
And then how did all of that experience bring you to the point of realizing that you really were about buying, growing, and selling businesses? How did all of that experience, because that's ultimately what you have done.
Yes.
So would it be fair to say that all of that experience that you had, that basically repeating that cycle over and over again, because by this time you'd had 3 different companies that you had helped grow and then spin off or sell?
Oh yes. One of the things that happened after traveling a heck of a lot, and my daughter was only about 3 years old, I said it's too much time on the road, I was missing her growing up. My wife and I decided, okay, it's time to start my own company again. Let's see what can happen. I took a company from zero, and in a matter of 3 years, went back to the marketplace where I had sold to Honeywell. I was able to acquire many of those accounts back, and in a 3-year period was able to sell it for substantially high numbers, where at that point that was actually the second company that I sold. Moved on to, had a non-compete after I sold that one, had a non-compete for that whole area. We traveled around the state, moved up to Pensacola, Florida, where we are today, and in the beautiful beach area, and fell in love with the beach. I'm an avid fisherman, and so I said, okay, let's see what we can do again. Once again, started from zero, built a company up, and took that one on, sold it, moved on, started another one, and have repeated this process. In the meantime, though, I've done several other things, which is my wife and I enjoy building and remodeling homes. So we're on our 15th home that we've remodeled and built, and we have pets, and so I invested in an invisible fence for our dog and wound up buying the company. So I bought the company, built that company up, and bought 2 more franchises and expanded throughout the panhandle of Florida. And there's so much similarities between the processes we use for security and for marketing of that business that are transferable to the other businesses.
Sure. Now, one of the things that I find in my consulting business with small business owners is that many of them have this secret desire to want to sell their business, but they have no clue how to do it. They have no clue what it's worth, what to ask for it. So how would a business owner that was thinking about doing what you have successfully done, which is to grow a business and sell a business, how would a business owner put some kind of price tag on the value of their business? Or do they even know what their business is worth?
I would say the majority of the companies do not know the value of their company. Most people have built that business. Sometimes they've inherited it. They moved if dad gave it to them or something there. So they really don't have any value. If they haven't been with another company that's been sold where they can see that, there's no concept. And so they have a price or a thought in their mind of it's worth X dollars, and it might be worth twice that or even 3 times that or nowhere near that. Part of the programs that I work with clients on is establishing the value. That takes a little bit of time, as much as 6 months, even a year, to put together a program that shows the process, that cleans the company up. It's kind of like selling your house. You don't come into a dirty room or dirty house and try to sell it. You better paint it and clean it. You have to do the same thing with your business. So it's a process that's put together that shows you have growth, that you have clean paperwork to follow up on, and then you can establish a value. Many times in companies that have residual income or monthly reoccurring revenue, it's based on a multiple. Cable companies are a good example. We all pay our cable bill. When cable companies are bought and sold, they're based on the multiple of how many subscribers they have and what that income is. What is it on a monthly basis? And then you take a multiple of that. Similarities in other service companies, such as alarm companies or pest control companies, others that have residual income.
So if a business owner has an idea they want to sell their business, someone who might be watching this interview who says, yeah, I would like to sell my business. What they need to do in all likelihood is to clean up their business and tighten up their systems and processes and have a demonstrated history of growth before they can realistically expect a buyer to come in and buy their business at a premium.
That's true. That's
Otherwise, they're forced to sell at discount.
That's right.
And many small business owners wait too late to sell their business and are forced either through health or other issues to try and sell their business, and they end up selling it for pennies on the dollar of what they could have gotten it had they prepared properly ahead of time.
Exactly. Exactly. If they put a process together of what they want to do and how they want to sell it, and work with somebody, a consultant such as yourself or myself, on how to establish that business and how to clean it up, they'll get the value they're looking for. I worked with one company that was in that same scenario of I want to sell, and after I worked with them, we cleaned up the business so well that it was doing well. They said, no, I'm not going to sell. Now I can see light at the end of the tunnel of how I can make this company grow smartly.
Right. Now, why do you, or what drives you to buy and sell these businesses? I've heard of the 7-year itch, but you get to itch a lot quicker than 7 years. I mean, it seems like every 3 to 5 years you're getting itched to sell the business. What drives you or causes you or motivates you to do that?
Well, I guess I'm motivated on growth. I enjoy the thrill of the sale, the building of the business. I enjoy building the business. I watch it grow. But I put 2 things there. Yes, I do get a 3 to 5 year itch, and I know me. I like to move on. I have ventures that I like to expand into and do other things. And so it's nice to know that at some point I can cash in and do that, move on to those other products or ventures. We own a substantial amount of real estate as a result of being able to sell. But part of that is I do put a dollar figure. And in my case, I put somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million. And I know when I reach that point, maybe it's time for me to cash in, or that 3 to 5 year time span. After that, I get bored. And so I want to work on either my business or somebody else's business or a new business to make it grow.
Now, would it be fair to say that when you go into a business, whether you start a business or buy an existing business, that the day you buy it, you have already planned on selling it?
Yes, that's a very good expectation.
Now, would you also say that that's probably not what most business owners do?
No, most definitely. They look at the business, they want to buy it, they want to get in there, but in many cases, it's just another job. And they've moved from one job to another job, and now that they own their own company, they realize it's not a 40-hour a week, it's a 60, 70, 80-hour a week. And every business I've built, I put those type of hours in. So it's not a quick overnight cash in.
Well, someone once explained to me the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur, and they asked me the question. They said, do you know the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur? And I wasn't quite sure that I did. And he said, well, let me explain it to you. He said, a business owner is someone who gets in business for themselves so they can be their own boss. But they don't have any intention, of building that business to sell it. They just are motivated by being able to call the shots themselves. And they will hang around for 20 or 30 years in that business if they are successful enough to continue to stay in business. Whereas the entrepreneur, the serial entrepreneur like yourself, is a person who gets into a business on the front end and decides the day they get in that they're going to sell it. So really what you're talking about is the difference between those two.
Very true.
And
the business I built in South Florida, a good example of that is after 3 years, we were a good growing company, growing faster than any other companies in South Florida. And we were called by one of the big guys. I received a call one day, and he said, do you want to sell your company? And I said, no, I'm not ready. Maybe call me back next year.
right.
And about a week later, they called back again and said, no, would you like to sell your company? And if you did, what would you like for it? I said, no, I'm not really interested, but if you want to shoot me a figure, I'll look at it. And they, about a week later, called me up, said, go to your fax machine, pick up a proposal to buy your company. And I looked at it, and I called them back, and I said, you're not even close. I said, if you'll double that figure, I'll consider it. The next day, I got a proposal doubled. They own the company.
They own the company that quick. Okay, that's great. So you've primarily worked in securities industries. Does the process that you use to have built security businesses, will that process work in other businesses, or is it just unique to the security industry?
Not at all. It's not unique to our business. It's universal in all. Primarily, I look at service businesses, and I'm related to people in the service industry. And my background in helping people or working with other clients has been service related. And so the marketing programs and the process we put together is to help them increase their business. If you have a small independent business waiting for people, a hardware store expecting people to come in the door, that's one thing. Your sales are dependent upon what's going on in the neighborhood and your local clientele. In my industry, it's go out and find those people. We go out and we self-generate all our own leads. We don't depend on the phone to ring. We make the phone ring. And that's the same thing that can happen in any service.
What would be some examples of other service type businesses that could benefit from the marketing and sales processes that you've put together in your business?
A good example is I work with an air conditioning company, and they have a large service side. And I said, well, when do you do your servicing? They said, well, every spring and summer we fix the air conditioners. I said, what do you do with the guys in the winter? He says, well, after the people turn the heaters on, our guys go hunting, and, and they take 6 weeks off or time off because we don't have any work. I said, why? Why are you not promoting other businesses within your business, other products within your business, be it a high-end air conditioning filter, a preventative maintenance program, somehow that you can create monthly recurring revenue off of that. My wife's very allergic, so we change our air conditioning filters every month. If someone came to me and said, hey, every month in the mail, you're going to get the air conditioning filter you need, and it's a high quality, and they're $6 a piece instead of $2 a piece, I would buy it because I want that type of service coming to me. So yes, it will work in all those. In
all businesses. And that's, again, that goes back to that mindset about being of an entrepreneurial mindset versus being of a business owner mindset. The business owner doesn't even look at those other opportunities. They don't look at the value of the customer, and most of them don't really realize that the customer is their most valuable asset. They think that what they do is their most valuable asset. And what you're saying is, if you own the customer if you sold them one thing, then it's smart business to try and figure out how to sell them multiple kinds of things.
Exactly. Expanding your own base. But you have to touch them. You have to be constantly in contact with them. And the more you touch them, the more you'll sell to them.
Absolutely. If a business owner follows your plan or process, are they going to increase their overhead?
In some cases, to a minor extent. But what I really see is unused hours. People standing around, a secretary that from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon really doesn't have anything to do. You've used that person, they've done scheduling, they've sent service techs out during the day, but in the afternoon, they're really not doing anything. Some of my programs will take that person and reuse their hours, get them motivated, get them behind one of the marketing programs. So it doesn't have to necessarily increase your overhead. But if it does, it will pay for itself. The minor costs of increase will be paid for weekly.
What other areas can a business expand in if they are to follow your particular concepts? You alluded to that a minute ago about if they are in the heating and air business, they could sell a high-end filter. Are there other examples that folks might be able to do, or things that you can think of other businesses that might be able to use that concept?
Sure. The pest control is another real good, has similarities of coming by, we get monthly or quarterly or annually. The more often you touch the people, once again, if the fellow coming by that sprays the outside of your house once a year for termites happens to see you have pets, he should be talking to you about some type of interior flea control. If they notice that, hey, you have a lot of squirrels outside, well, squirrels are also a flea breeder. Does your yard need to be sprayed? So expanding within your own industry, there's one example. The automotive side is another real good one. They all talk about preventative maintenance, but when's the last time you received a letter, card, anything from your existing person where you had your oil changed? They don't remember you. They don't send you anything. So it's that contact.
It's amazing. My pest control guy comes by, and I let him in the door, and I go about my work, and he walks around and sprays. And then I write him a check and he leaves and he comes back to next quarter. Never once has he asked me about anything else having to do with pest control of any sort. And it's hard to miss the fact that I've got a dog and 2 cats in the house.
Right.
He's never said anything like that, and the yard's full of squirrels.
Sure.
But the guy is so tunnel vision, he just thinks of himself as somebody who comes in and sprays for bugs.
Sure.
And he's a one-man thing, works out of his truck, and it's just him. And he doesn't have the mindset that you're talking about.
Sure.
So, let's loop back around to the service industry for a second, because you are, as part of a new initiative, you are embarking on a coaching consulting program to business owners and entrepreneurs to help them put together processes and systems that will do essentially what you've been able to do in terms of growing business